Welcome, students. Today we're going to talk about civil liberties and civil rights. So let's first work on distinguishing these two concepts from one another. We'll talk about some parts of the Constitution and some laws that are related to these two concepts. And then we're going to discuss the Bill of Rights in a little bit of detail. First, the words themselves. Let's talk civil liberties. Civil liberties are your freedoms that you're born with. And the main way that they relate to government is that in our way of thinking about things, the government is not supposed to infringe upon these. It's not supposed to try and take these away. These are things like your freedom of belief and your freedom of expression. And we have very specific things in our Constitution and in other places that are designed specifically to protect these from being taken away by the government. So think of civil liberties as freedoms that you have, and the system is set up in a way to prevent the government from acting upon these in a negative way. All right? Civil rights are things that are done purposely by the government to help people. So typically civil rights are government acts, things that are supported by government action that are designed to further equality or to make for fair treatment, things that give people certain abilities to do things that they may not have had as individuals or as a group before. So civil liberties are things that the government can't take away. Civil rights are actions that the government does do to help people. The instrumental part of our government that protects your civil liberties is the Bill of Rights. This is the part of our founding documents that protects your liberties from being stepped on by the government. But the important thing to remember about liberty and freedom is that even though the government is not supposed to infringe upon it in an improper way, it doesn't mean that your liberties are unlimited. And the reason is because you live in a society that includes other people. So daily life is about people trying to make their rights, their freedoms, their liberties work in the same place, in the same time as everyone else is trying to live in a free way. So you can't have unlimited rights, or unlimited liberties, because in some cases you exercising freedom might impact negatively on somebody else. So there are certain instances where laws are okay. Laws that limit your freedom are okay because they're designed to protect the freedom of other people that could be taken away by your actions. There are several civil rights amendments. These include the 14th, 15th, 19th, 24th, and 26th. So notice when you research these amendments that these are amendments that typically extend either voting rights or citizenship rights or other sorts of rights to groups of people that didn't have them before. And just remember the historic context behind these amendments and when they came around and the problems that they solved when they were created. The 14th Amendment is one that we should probably spend a little bit of extra time on, because the 14th Amendment not only does some important stuff, it really has a tremendous impact on how our concept of rights and liberties are shaped in this country. So you have to keep in mind that when the Bill of Rights was created, it applied only to the national government, to the federal government. So the protections that we're going to discuss in just a few minutes, you need to remember that in the late 1700s and early 1800s, everyone understood those to be just about the national government. So a national government couldn't take away your freedom of speech, but it didn't say anything about state governments. And what state governments did was take away a lot of freedom and a lot of liberty from a lot of people during that time. One of the problems that had to be fixed was this exact situation. And we fixed it by creating the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment grants people equal protection and grants people a right to due process that has to be respected by state governments. So it fills in a very important gap by making state governments respect your civil liberties and your civil rights. There are other laws from the 20th century that are designed to protect people's rights. These include the Civil Rights Act, 1964, the Voting Rights Act, 1965, and both of these are results of the hard work of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. And closer to modern day, we have what's referred to as affirmative action, which is a term that's used to describe government action that's designed to reverse the effects of discrimination or unfair treatment against certain groups by balancing the playing field and helping out groups of people that had in the past been discriminated against. So let's talk about some specific components of the Bill of Rights. What I want you to focus on is what each one of these amendments relates to, in just a general term, and also any kind of limitations that might exist that define that right or liberty a little bit more specifically than just a kind of a general freedom. So make sure you understand how your note chart is organized and follow along accordingly. So I'm going to go through these really quickly because you have several other assignments that get you deeper into researching the Bill of Rights. But just in general terms, let's talk about each amendment, what it includes and what it doesn't include. So the First Amendment is the amendment that protects your freedom of belief and your freedom of expression. In other words, your freedom to think and feel what you want to feel in terms of your beliefs and your ability to express opinions and ideas. So we've got the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, and freedom of petition. The limits to these mainly include limits to free expression. In other words, freely expressing ideas. There are some ways that you can express yourself that aren't necessarily protected. In other words, you can get in trouble if you are found to express yourself in these ways. That expression harms someone else. And if they press charges against you or somehow want to impose some consequences on you, freedom of speech won't protect you from these things. And these include lying, slander, and libel are two specific examples of lying. Language or expression that is considered to be obscene is not protected. Speech that creates a dangerous situation, this is referred to as clear and present danger, is not protected, and speech that brings people to violence or fighting words is also not protected. So make sure you note these examples in your limitations to free expression. The Second Amendment and the Third Amendment are related to arms, guns, and the military. The Second Amendment is the right for individual people to bear arms or have weapons. Now, this doesn't mean that you can have any kind of weapon that you want. The government can still pass gun control laws or gun management laws, but the government is also not allowed to make it illegal to own a weapon. The Third Amendment is about quartering troops in your home. This is an amendment that says the government can't put its soldiers in your house where you are responsible for housing and feeding them. And this is something that's really never been tested, so we don't know what the limitations on this one might be. The Fourth through the Eighth Amendment are related to due process. And due process is the important steps that the government has to take someone through before they formally convict them of a crime and take away either their life, their liberty, or their property. And the first step in that is, of course, finding evidence that that person has committed a crime. The Fourth Amendment is designed to protect people from illegal searches and seizures when the police are looking for evidence. So you know that there are certain rules for how the police have to search. The police can search your property if they have what's referred to as probable cause of valid reason to, and or a warrant from a judge, which is a document that basically gives the police permission to search your car or your home or whatever for specific evidence that might that might be used to accuse you, find you guilty of a crime. Fifth Amendment includes quite a number of things that are typically categorized as rights that you have when you're accused of a crime, or rights that you have when you're a defendant. So these include things like a protection against self-incrimination, which is when you hear someone plead the Fifth Amendment, this is what they're doing. This gives you a person the right to remain silent. This ensures that a person's due process rights will be respected. This ensures that you will have a grand jury in a criminal case, and that you won't be tried twice for the same crime. In other words, be subjected to double jeopardy. There are more trial rights included in the Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment grants a person who's defending themselves in court the right to know the nature of their crimes, confront the witnesses who are speaking out against them, bring their own witnesses to speak in support of them, and to have the support of a lawyer while they're defending themselves in court. The Seventh Amendment includes common law protections, civil case protections, and it guarantees a trial by jury by lawsuits of $20 or more. The Eighth Amendment is the final due process amendment, and this is the amendment that protects someone after they've been found guilty and are facing the consequences for committing that crime. So the Eighth Amendment protects people from cruel and unusual punishment or excessive bail. So this is an amendment that's designed to protect people even after they're in jail or being otherwise punished for committing or being found guilty of a crime. The Ninth Amendment is an amendment that prevents the government from limiting a person's liberties to the ones that are listed in the Bill of Rights. It's been used by the Supreme Court in earlier decisions to expand this idea of rights that we possess. An important right that the Supreme Court has upheld that comes from the Ninth Amendment is the right to privacy, the right to basically your own affairs. So the Ninth Amendment is an important amendment because it essentially implies that or sets down that there are far more freedoms that we enjoy than just those listed in the other amendments of the Bill of Rights. And the 10th Amendment sets up what's referred to as reserved powers. And these are the powers that are practiced or held by state governments. So these are the things that the national government, the federal level of government is supposed to stay out of, and the states are supposed to manage for themselves. All right, so we'll be doing some other activities and research on this. Bring your notes and your questions to class, and I will see you then. Thanks so much.